Hello and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Let us discuss advanced audit and assurance September or December 2024 examiner report. As you can see over here, right? So let's dive in and start with it. Um, Initially, we have just the general comment about it. The examiner's report should be used in conjunction with the published September December 2024 exams. Remember that we have the mixture of the both attempt questions in it. Okay, uh, so far so good. So, in this report, the examining team provide the constructive guidance how to answer the questions while they sharing their observations from the marking process, highlighting the strengths, the weaknesses of the candidates attempted these questions. Okay, so the format of the exam we all know. So, advanced audit and assurance examination comprises of two sections. Section A consists of 50 marks question. Section 2 consists of 225 marks question each. Total 100 marks. Well, the section A question 1, the heart, it is 1st July 2005. You are a manager in the audit department of the Broadway and Company, a firm of chartered certified accountants responsible for the audit of Hart Group. The group for the year ending 30th September 2005. The group is a non-listed entity, owns and operates 50 theaters, which stage third-party theater productions, including musicals and plays. We all know about the format of the question, okay, but for the first timers, let us repeat it. Well, the question says, this question was a typical Section A question set at the planning stage of the audit of the Hart Group, with requirements focusing on an evaluation on the significant business risk faced by the group, evaluation and prioritization of the significant risk of material misstatement, justification as to why the acquisition of the new subsidiary in the year has been identified as a significant ROMM, risk of material misstatement, and specific audit procedures in relation to goodwill which has been recognized on the acquisition, and finally and the discussion of the audit firm's responsibilities relating to the group non-compliance with laws and regulation. So the section in question is typically where candidates perform best, and there have been more focus answers in recent sessions. It is pleasing to see that many candidates appear to have taken none of the guidance provided by the examining team in this area. Okay, the group in the scenario was a non-listed entity, okay, which owns and operates 50 theaters which are used to stage third-party production. The group was an existing client of the firm. However, this was the first year in which consolidated financial statements were to be produced following the parent company making its very first acquisition. Candidates should note that they are not expected to have detailed industry specific knowledge when answering questions in this examination, and the scenario will always have enough information to enable sufficient specific risk to be identified and evaluated to achieve full marks. So that means if you use the scenario well, you can demonstrate the professional skill which is required. One of them that is commercial acumen. Okay, so far so good. Let's move on. Several exhibits were provided to candidates to enable them to develop an understanding of the specific issues relevant to the audit. These areas were partner emails, and email which you have received from the Tim Weber, the group engagement partner, background information about the hard groups, current structure and business activities, meeting notes, summary of the events during the year as discussed in a meeting between Tim Weber and the finance director, goodwill calculation of the goodwill arising on the acquisition of the Morton company. So, in these questions, candidates were given very specific direction in the partner's email regarding which exhibit to use for each requirement, and it was pleasing to note that in the majority of the cases, these instructions were well followed. Okay, it is often the case that there will be interaction between the exhibits, which all impact on the analysis performed by the candidate. For example, in this question, information was provided in Exhibit 2 around the requirement for permission to be obtained from regulatory authorities prior to any remedial work being carried out on the group's theater, which were buildings with projected status. Exhibit 3 then informed candidates that the group had carried out extensive modification on two theaters during year and were now seeking retrospective permission for this modification. So the significant skill in AAA exam and indeed audit is the ability to connect various issues from a variety of sources to understand how why these issues may manifest as business risk and ROMMs. Connecting the requirements of the regulatory authority with the work which had already been carried out in the year allowed candidates to more fully appreciate that there was a significant risk of fines or action by regulator, including a possible request to revert the modifications. Well, also information provided in Exhibit 2 around the group current financing position also then allowed candidates to evaluate the strain which might put on the group's cash flow, which was very close to its borrowing limits, or that there might be a risk of management bias in the presentation of this. Costs were recognized in order to ensure that group did not breach the strict covenants which were applied to the borrowing facility. So, as always, examiners and candidates are encouraged to spend adequate time reading, planning, and should aim to obtain a holistic view and understanding of the issues present in the question before compiling their answer. Where there is evidence of candidates taking this time and planning their answer, responses tend to be more structured and focused, which generally increases the chances of candidates scoring strong technical as well as professional skill marks. Okay, well, this was the Exhibit 1 partner's email. Okay, in section A, the partner's email was always set out the detail and requirement which are to be answered and the mark allocation. It is recommended that candidates refer to partner email first to ensure that they understand what they are being asked to as they will read the detailed information and to help them consider the best way to allocate their time to each requirement. Audit manager, you need to start planning the audit of the group for the year ending 30th September, and to help with this I have provided you with some relevant information. I met with the finance director yesterday to discuss a number of matters, including some recent business developments. When determining materiality, please use revenue as your basis, as this is a key focus for investors and providers of finance. So the materiality should have been between 0.5% to 1%. Okay, using the information I require you to prepare briefing notes which you using all exhibits, evaluate the significant business risks to be considered in planning the audit of the group. Okay, cool. Then we have using Exhibit 1, 2, 3. That means do not use other exhibits other than Exhibit 1, 2, and 3 for the requirement B. Okay, and prioritize risk of material misstatement to be considered in planning the group audit. You will need to determine apply an appropriate materiality threshold, which I told you already. It should be the lower side at 0.5%, higher side maximum 1%. Okay. Next requirement, the group was formed during the year with the parent company, the Hart Group, acquiring its first subsidiary company. Therefore, this is the first time here that the group will prepare consolidated financial statements, justify why the acquisition of Martin Company and the goodwill arising on the acquisition have been identified and significant risk of material misstatement, design the principal audit procedures which should be included in the audit plan in relation to goodwill arising on the acquisition of Morton Company, and finally using only exhibit 3. Okay, they required that discuss Broadway company responsibilities in relation to group non-compliance with laws and regulation in relation to the reimbursement of historical buildings without permission. Okay, well, for the business risk, we should have provided 4 business risks, and for risk of material misstatements, 4 to 5 risks of material misstatement would have been enough. For requirement C, justify the acquisition of Morton Company and design the. So for this part, 6 marks available. For the audit procedure, 6 marks. That means 6 procedures are enough. And for this part, maximum 8 valid small paragraphs would have been enough. Okay, so we all know the requirement as we have looked at it. The requirement of this question was split into 4 parts. Requirement A of the question asked to evaluate the significant business risk facing the group. Requirement B to evaluate and okay, evaluate and prioritize a significant risk of material misstatement from exhibit 1, 2 and 3. In requirement C, ask candidates to justify the acquisition of Morton Company. The group first acquisition of a wholly owned subsidiary had been identified as a significant risk of material misstatement. Design the principal audit procedures to be performed on the goodwill. Finally, requirement D asks to discuss the auditor responsibilities in relation to the group non-compliance with laws and regulation regarding the refurbishment of theaters without the appropriate regulatory permission. So, professional skills marks were available for commercial acumen, evaluation and analysis, skepticism, and communication. These are the 4 skills which we have to use. Well, these are the general comments. Okay, so yes, I'm skipping these general comments and let's go to specific to the requirement. So in this section of the question, candidates were asked to use a specific information information provided in the scenario to evaluate the business risk in relation to the group. So in AAA exam and in line with ISA 315 device, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement, evaluation of the business risk should include those risks which have a significant impact on the client business and where there is a significant probability of this risk occurring after any mitigation stated in the information provided. So risks that are of a remote likelihood of occurring, already mitigated against, or which will have an insignificant impact are not considered relevant to the evaluation. So, candidates required to identify what is significant in the context of the specific scenario, demonstrating good professional judgment and an ability to disseminate the important information while assessing the risk. So, requirement was generally well answered, with many candidates able to identify and evaluate the risks surrounding the group dependency on its borrowing facility, strict covenants which were attached to it. Strong answer were able to demonstrate how the group was close to the breaching the operating margin covenant and that it had utilized over 90% of the available facility. So here, uh, notice that even in business risk area, your analysis skills are very much important, as it is appreciated by the examiner that such analysis uh, such analysis are being appreciated by the examiner, and that means it is valued by the examiner. So if we use such technique while answering the question, it will be considered as an impressive answer. So further, which would put excessive strain on the group's cash flow position. Most answers identify the risk associated with the regulatory requirements surrounding the group historical buildings with protected status and the possible risk of the fine or penalties being imposed by the regulator. Stronger answers then went on to explain the potential costs involved with having to revert the building if retrospective permission was not granted. Many answers were able to identify the business risk in relation to the acquisition of the Morton company in the year and evaluate the possible risks surrounding to the return on the group investment. Strong answers were able to explore the possible impact of an acquisition which had been done at the pace and without appropriate due diligence. Candidates who were able to evaluate the risk around the income guarantees which are provided to the group customers and the sizable impact this might have on the group liabilities gain additional credit. The best answer were also able to discuss how these guarantees might be widespread and could result in a significant obligation which the group might struggle to meet given its current cash flow position. The main restriction on the marks continues to be that in some cases risks are not well explained, therefore limiting credit which can be awarded to candidate. For example, many candidates only provided superficial analysis in relation to the government grant the group had been awarded during the year for 3-year project to work with local school. Most candidates failed to explain exactly how this might manifest in a business risk for the group. Simply stating the group had failed to meet the condition of this grant does not explain the risk to the group. It is important to also clearly state the implications for the group. The fact that the conditions are not met may result in the grant becoming repayable, which would result in a significant cash outflow for the group, further exacerbating the difficult cash flow and financing position. This is also augmented by the possible long term reduction in the grant income, which might be available in other areas of the business, including the grants received for the work carried out on the historical buildings on which the groups reliant. So, candidates must ensure they fully evaluate the risk and its impact to maximize their technical and professional marks. Some candidates continue to mix up business risk and risk of material misstatement. Uh, in an answer which is very muddled or cannot score any credit as it is explained from the wrong perspective. Disappointingly, some answers to this requirement focus on either risk mitigations or auditor's responses, which was not requested and therefore were unable to score marks. Candidates are again reminded to read the requirement carefully and to ensure that they have conducted adequate question practice to ensure they understand what is required and have developed appropriate exam technique. Overall, in this section, many candidates were able to evaluate sufficient risk to pass the requirement, and many candidates did not seem have difficulty in identifying business risk, and the implication of the group. However, the differentiator between stronger and weaker candidates was their ability to evaluate the risk fully and demonstrate the professional skills of analysis and evaluation and commercial acumen. So that's the key, guys. I hope you understand that can make your answer weak or the impressive. Requirement B, using exhibits 1 to 3, evaluate and prioritize the significant risk of material misstatement to be considered in planning the group audit. You will need to determine and apply an appropriate materiality threshold in your briefing notes. Okay, the requirement is typical in volume and nature to many uh, planning questions and examiner major area of the syllabus. Risk of material misstatement candidates were directed to use exhibit 1, 2 and 3 on and only and to exclude the impact of the acquisition is this point, as this was the deal within requirement C, and it was pleasing to see that most candidates follow these instructions. Cool. There were 12 technical marks available in this part of the question, in addition to a significant number of professional skill marks for the analysis. It was disappointing to see that some candidates are still obtaining few marks for this type of requirement, as they continue to rely on basic or generic explanations which fail to refer to the information in the scenario. Candidates who refer to the specific information provide more in-depth answers and are able to assess the scale of the risk in the context of the specific audit client. So, materiality. Specific marks were available in this requirement for the calculation and application of materiality in line with the syllabus guidance. While a significant number of candidates appeared prepared and followed the materiality guidance provided by the examining team, significant number continue to fail to apply the guidance and lost out on valuable technical and professional skill marks in this area. Candidates are expected to initially determine a materiality threshold for the audit, which I told you in beginning. Let me tell you, it was based on revenue, and it should have been between 0.5 to 1% according to this requirement. Would be used in practice. The 3 technical marks are available for the materiality. Okay, 3 technical marks are available for the materiality determinations. Candidates are expected to demonstrate a knowledge of the appropriate percentage range for the benchmark as instructed by the audit engagement partner. In this question, revenue was to be utilized with candidates expected to use somewhere between 0.5 and 2 as their range, which is wrong. Okay. Calculate the monetary amount in respect of the range. Candidate must then use their professional judgment to select an appropriate materiality threshold, give the risk levels such as exist in the audit, and to provide a brief justification for the choice. Each of these steps examines a different aspect of the understanding and skills required of an auditor. So, generally, materiality was not well applied. Many candidates ignored the guidance in the partner's email, use a different benchmark, or produce a wrong calculation. Some candidates wasted time by doing all the calculations correctly but then failed to apply their own materiality threshold throughout their answer and reverted to doing calculation for each item based on total assets or profit before tax. This resulted many candidates wasting valuable time and failing to score the professional skill marks attached to this area. It was also disappointing to note that some candidates failed to justify a materiality threshold for the audit. The examination team will give credit for any reasonable who can justify their response through the application of professional judgment. It is not required that candidates select the identical percentage of figure or that they provide a justification identical to that shown in the model answer. However, simply stating that materiality has been set at a specific value due to the risks which have been identified is not considered a suitable explanation by the examining team and will not be awarded credit. Many candidates use this as their explanation and therefore were not able to score full technical marks in this area. Some candidates also concluded that materiality could be set at the highest level because this was an existing client and therefore the risk of material misstatement was extremely low, while the cumulative knowledge that is built up on an existing audit might be a reason to increase the materiality level. In this circumstances, this showed a lack of consideration of the whole picture and therefore a serious deficiency in professional judgment. This was a company which had purchased a subsidiary, thus forming a group, and which was now required to produce consolidated financial statement for the first time. The risk associated with the loan should be enough to inform the auditor that audit risk has increased exponentially in the current year. It continues to be disappointing to note that some candidates still do not understand the relationship between risk and materiality. As seen in the previous session, some candidates concluded that as there was a high level of the risk present within the audit, the materiality level could be increased, thus failing to understand that there is an inverse relationship between audit risk and materiality level, which should set understanding this relationship is a basic principle and assumed knowledge. Candidates are encouraged to revisit the principle of materiality which were explored in AA at the applied skill level. Okay. Evaluation of the risks. Using Exhibit 1, 2, and 3, candidates were required to evaluate and prioritize significant risk of material misstatement to be considered in planning the audit of the group. In any effective risk evaluation, candidates need to demonstrate an understanding of the risk, how it arises, how the audit will focus on those issues most likely to cause a material misstatement. Candidates who demonstrate depth of evaluation with awarded more credit than those providing more generic response. Performance of this requirement was generally satisfactory. Majority of candidates were able to effectively evaluate the risk of material misstatement associated with the government grant which the group had received with respect to the 3-year project for working with local schools. Many candidates demonstrated appropriate knowledge of IS-20. Okay, IS-20 government grants, were able to apply to the question and challenge the appropriateness of the income which had been recognized by the group in the year. Most candidates demonstrated some awareness of the requirement of IS-20 for grants to be recognized on a systematic basis over the periods in which the entity recognizes expenses for the related costs the grant is intended compensate for, and that a grant is recognized only when there is reasonable assurance that the entity will comply with any conditions attached to the grant. As a result, high proportion of candidates were able to conclude that it was inappropriate for the group to have recognized any income in relation to the grant in the current year, as due to unexpected delays the project had not commenced. Therefore, the conditions attached to the grant had not yet been satisfied. Candidates also able to score professional skill mark for demonstrating appropriate levels of professional skepticism to the accounting treatment adopted by the management. Only the better answer were able to go on to evaluate the risk of the grant becoming repayable and the need for a provision to be recognized as a result. Okay. The risk arising from the upgrade and maintenance of the group's two theatres in the year were also generally well handled. Most candidates were able to demonstrate knowledge of IS 16 to evaluate the circumstances in which additional costs can be recognized in tangible assets. Most candidates were able to comment sensibly on the risk that this cost might not have been appropriately distinguished between capital and operating expenditure, and therefore there was a significant risk. Property, plant, and equipment was overstated, and the expenses has been understated. Credit was awarded to the opposite conclusion, that is PPE understated and expense overstated, where it was the appropriate follow on from the candidate analysis, as the scenario was not definitive in this regard. Many candidates were also able to demonstrate their professional skepticism here by connecting this issue to management desire to minimize expenses in the year to satisfy the operating margin and covenant attached to the group financing. Candidates who went on develop relevant answers relating to the possible provision for the fines and penalties might be changed by the regulator due to this work being carried out without permission, or the fact that the poor state of the theatres might be an indicator of impairment, were also awarded credit. Okay. The risk arising from the minimum ticket sales guarantee which had been provided to one of the group customers was less well tackled. A good number of candidates demonstrate appropriate knowledge of requirement of IS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities and assets, and the circumstances under which a provision should be recognized. However, many candidates suggested there was no need to recognize the provision in the circumstances despite the clear obligation arising due to the poor performance of the production. Better answers recognize the key risks surrounded with possible deliberate attempt by the finance director to minimize the provision by using optimistic forecasts as the basis for the amount recorded. It was a pleasing to see that many candidates were able to make the connection between the covenants attached to the group financing and the risk of management bias. Many were able to use appropriate calculations and trend analysis to support their evaluation, while it was also pleasing to see a large number of candidates conducting this type of relevant financial analysis. Unfortunately, a sizable minority of answers presented this calculation in isolation and provided no further commentary or analysis. So, in the AAA exam, a calculation of its own is not enough to gain credit, as in isolation it does not provide any context or information for the purpose of the audit. Calculations must be used to support evaluation, and commentary provided by the candidates are reminded to ensure that they refer to any numerical analysis performed to ensure they do not miss out on this worthwhile marks. So, a number of candidates on realizing that the group was very close to breaching their operating margin, and then went to suggest that the main risk for the audit was the group no longer a going concern. Then they concluded incorrectly that the financial statement should be prepared on a breakup basis. Candidates are again reminded to read the information carefully, ensure that their comments are proportionate to the facts presented. In the circumstances presented, the group had not yet been breached a covenant, and even in the event of breach, the group then had 2 years to rectify the issue. As such, this conclusion was excessive in the circumstances. Candidates, however, who discussed the possible need for disclosure due to some uncertainty over the future status and the group were awarded credit. Candidates need to understand in greater detail the application of the going concern basis of accounting should not always assume the preparing financial statements on a breakup basis is the appropriate course of action. Prioritization of ROMM. High proportion of answers failed to provide any indication how the risks were prioritized, therefore failing to follow a key instruction in the partner's email and lost out on valuable professional skill marks. As a result, candidates can demonstrate their prioritization in a variety of ways. including providing some justification as to why a risk is prioritized through their answer or in a conclusion provided somewhere in their answer. To score this marks, candidate must do more than simply say these risks are priority as they are material. Only risk of material misstatements are relevant anyway, and therefore candidate must demonstrate additional reasoning as to why specific risks are more important. Candidates are encouraged to review the model answers to gain understanding of what is expected in relation to this requirement. Requirement C is 12 marks. The group was formed during the okay year Hard Company acquiring its first subsidiary company. Therefore, this is the first year that the group will prepare consolidated financial statements, justify the acquisition of Morton Company, and the goodwill arising on the acquisition have been identified as significant risk of material misstatement. Design the principal audit procedures which should have been included in the audit plan in relation to the goodwill arising on the acquisition of Morton Company. So, justification for the identification as ROMM. The acquisition of Morton Company and the goodwill arising on the acquisition had been identified as significant risk of material misstatement. Although the wording of this requirement is more specific, the scale is the same. Candidates are expected to perform relevant analysis to support evaluation of this specific area of risk. Similar to the requirement B, candidates who demonstrate a depth of understanding and evaluation were awarded more credit than those providing generic responses. Unfortunately, answers to this aspect of the requirement were generally weak. Many candidates provided answers which lacked specifically to the scenario and depth of understanding. Surprisingly, many candidates did not discuss one of the main reasons this was an area of insignificant risk was simply because this was the first time the parent company, Hard Company, had made an acquisition. Therefore, the group was newly formed in the year. This was therefore the first time goodwill had been calculated and recorded, and the first year for which consolidated statements were being produced. Such a significant change to the business structure is a basic reason why the risk profile of an audit client would increase. It will disappointing to see that many candidates did not identify this fundamental change, therefore lost on relatively easy marks. As a result, better answers were able to discuss the complexities of such calculations and the need for management judgment expertise in producing consolidated financial statements, which may be lacking in a company which had never completed such a transaction. So, many candidates recognize that the cost of the acquisition, including included deferred consideration. However, some showed a lack of knowledge over the requirement of IFRS 3 business combination, suggesting that this had been inappropriately recognized at present value. Strong answers able to question the discount rate which had been used by management and were able to discuss that there was a significant risk that the cost of the acquisition and the related liability were misstated. As a result, stronger answers also demonstrate appropriate levels of professional skepticism by challenging management assumptions regarding the likelihood that the full amount would be payable given the uncertainty over whether the revenue targets would be achieved. Okay, majority of the candidates understand that the assets and liabilities acquired should be measured at fair value at the date of acquisition, and that there was a risk that this had been incorrectly measured or that not all assets or liabilities had been identified at the point of acquisition. Disappointingly, few candidates recognize that in line with IFRS 3, acquired brand name should be recognized on acquisition, even though it was not recognized in the financial statements of Morton Company. Many candidates focus on the rule in IS 38 intangible assets state that this was an internally generated brand. It was correct for this not to be recognized at group level. Again, stronger answers demonstrated appropriate professional skepticism and maximized their marks by challenging the fact that the fair values were determined by the management of Morton company, the acquired company. There was risk that they may not have the competence or experience, but more importantly, there may also be in the valuation in order to maximize the price paid by a hard company. Okay, some answers mistakenly refer to the lack of the non-controlling interest being taken into consideration, which was irrelevant as the group had purchased 100% of the share capital of Modern Company. Candidates are reminded again to ensure that they have read the specifics of the scenario which they were presented. Finally, one of the key risks in the area was the fact that management did not appear to have followed the rules of 536 impairment of assets, which required goodwill and other intangible assets with intangible life with identified life treated annually for impairment. Only better answers explored the possibility that goodwill and other intangible assets were overstated as a result. Overall answer to this requirements were weak, with many candidates showing a lack of relevant accounting knowledge, professional judgment, and skepticism. Candidates are reminded to ensure that their accounting knowledge is at the required standard prior to sitting the AAA exam. Okay. Okay, as far as the audit procedures part is concerned, the part of the requirements is typical of a section A question and require candidates to design, address specific area of risk relating in the question. Candidates were required to design the principal audit procedures respect of the goodwill arising on the acquisition of Morton Company. Candidates were provided with management calculation of goodwill arising at the acquisition in Exhibit 4 and were reminded to consider aspects of the goodwill calculation when coming. Think about the aspects of the information, including that there were deferred consideration as well as fair value adjustments. Overall responses to the requirement consideration as well as C2 were mixed. Many candidates were unable to convert their accounting knowledge in relation to accounting for goodwill into appropriate audit procedures. The weakest answers focus on reviewing board minutes for the approval of the acquisition, agreeing the cash consideration to bank statements, and obtaining management calculation and ensuring it was mathematically accurate. Answer of this nature scored minimal marks and no professional skill marks, as these procedures, although likely to be included as a strong point in the audit work program, provide little to no evidence for the auditor over the key judgmental risk attached to the goodwill balance. Okay, the majority of the answers referred obtaining using the legal documentation for the acquisition and agreeing the details such as the acquisition date, cash consideration, deferred consideration, as well as confirmation that the acquisition was for 100% of the structure, and some marks for this procedures. Okay, better answers also use the additional information provided in the scenario as the basis for the procedures. For example, by designing procedures to assess the fair value adjustments using including the use of expert to provide a valuation or the whether management assumptions around the discount factor used to value the deferred consideration where appropriate, as well as obtaining information such as budgets or cash flow forecast to assess whether the revenue target attached to the deferred consideration would be met. The strongest candidates gained a professional mark under analysis and evaluation for designing procedures which address the area of judgment and risk in verifying the fair value adjustments, such subjective assumptions or possible unidentified assets or liabilities which had not been included in the calculation. Okay, requirement D, 8 marks using exhibit 3. Okay, Broadway and Company responsibilities in relation to the group's non-compliance with the laws and regulation in relation to the refurbishment of historical building without permission. Requirement D, ask candidate to discuss the responsibilities of the auditor in relation to the non-compliance with the requirement to obtain permission from the regulatory authority prior to the carry out any modification to buildings with protected status. The response to these requirements were generally weak due to many candidates during very brief or generic answers which were not tailored to reflect the circumstances under which this non-compliance had occurred. When tackling this type of requirement, candidates are encouraged to use the mark allocation to help guide them in determining the amount of answer points which will be needed to score the marks available. Many answers were simply too brief to score enough marks to pass this requirement. Most candidates were able to identify the basic requirement of ISA 250, consideration of laws and regulation in audit of financial statements. Regarding that, while it is management responsibility to ensure compliance with relevant laws and regulations, the auditor is required to understand how non-compliance may have a direct impact on the financial statements. Okay, many answers were also able to refer to requirements of ISA 315 revised, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement for auditor to understand the legal and regulatory framework in which the group is operating, and therefore the audit team should ensure knowledge of the relevant regulatory requirements for such protected buildings. Unfortunately, many answers did not go any further and simply concluded that the audit opinion would have to be modified, which was a conclusion that could not be reached at this planning stage of the audit. As is often the case at AAA, weaker answers often identify issues or actions but do not specifically relate them to the circumstances of the scenario. For example, many candidates discuss the non-compliance should be reported to those charged with governance and regulator, which failed to consider that the group was seeking retrospective permission and therefore was already in communication with the regulator about the issue. Stronger answers instead were able to suggest that the auditor should seek to understand how these modifications were to occur without permission and to review correspondence with the regulator to understand what the outcome was going to be. This would in turn help the auditor to understand if this is an issue which has happened before and if the group was likely to face legal action, including penalties which might result in the need for a provision to be recognized in financial statements. The best answers were able to then discuss how following further investigation the auditor may have to consider if there was any further non-compliance which need to be reported. Okay, candidates who provided a tailored, balanced and detailed discussion in relation to this non-compliance with laws and regulation were also awarded the associated professional skill marks. So overall professional skill marks, in addition to the professional skill marks described within the different sections of the question, 3 marks were available for communication. Overall, these marks were awarded for the use of a report header and introduction, presentation and relevance of answer, criteria of explanation. This session, it was disappointing to see a number of candidates who did not present their answer in a suitable format and therefore were not able to score all the communication marks. Okay. Question 2, Oak and Co. was a 25 mark question focused on providing an assurance engagement of sustainability report of Fizoda company, an existing client of the firm. Okay. It is 1st July 2005. You are a manager in Hawk & Co., a firm of chartered certified accountants. Your firm has recently completed the audit of Fizoda company for the year ended 31st March 2005, and the audit report was issued last week. Fizoda company is a listed drinks manufacturer which produce a popular range of soft carbonated drinks, including the best-selling drink Lift Up. The management of Fizoda company has now approached your firm to carry out some additional assurance work on the company's sustainability report. Hawk & Co. has a reputation for high standards. Okay. In extended external reporting engagements, EER, with a separate team who specialize in sustainability and environmental assurance engagements. So there were two exhibits: sustainability reporting background information and an extract from the sustainability report prepared by the management of Fizoda company, audit working papers, extract from the recently completed audit file containing some background information which will be used during the additional assurance engagement. Okay. Overall candidate's performance in this question was inadequate. Answers to all requirements were often only a couple of short paragraphs of bullet points, and some candidates failed to consider the detailed information in any depth, providing a list of generic comments which were often irrelevant to the scenario. As such, these candidates were not able to demonstrate professional skills that were also examined in the question, being those of professional skepticism and judgment, analysis and evaluation, and commercial acumen. Candidates are reminded to pay attention to the additions to the list of examinable documents and the technical articles provided, and to use published questions and marking guides to aid them when planning answers, to consider the number of detailed points which need to be made for the marks available. Requirement A: 5 marks. Audit firms like Hawk & Co. are increasingly being asked to provide assurance on sustainability, environmental and governance information in the financial statements. The IASB has issued an exposure draft on International Standard on Sustainability Assurance 5000 AED, which aim to provide a framework and general requirement for sustainability assurance engagement. Discuss how materiality is a significant issue for assurance firms which performing engagement providing assurance on sustainability information. So requirement asks candidates to consider an important aspect of the new exposure draft of proposed international standard on sustainability assurance. It was apparent that many candidates had not read the recent articles issued by the examining team and were unprepared for a question on this extremely important current issue. Many candidates simply wrote everything new about materiality which was not wholly relevant in the circumstances. Strong answers were able to confidently discuss the dual aspect of materiality with reference to not only financial materiality but also impact materiality, that is how the company impacts the wider environment and other sustainability issues. Stronger candidates were also able to discuss the consideration which must be taken into account regarding the users of the report and what they deem relevant and important, thereby showing their ability to extend their existing knowledge of materiality to this wider context. Strong answers were also able to discuss some of the difficulties in determining materiality for sustainability information due to numerous factors, including the qualitative, forward-looking nature of the information and the inherent risk of bias in presented information. Requirement B, using the information in Exhibit 1 and 2, discuss the quality and professional issues which might arise for Oak and Co. in accepting the engagement to perform the assurance on the sustainability report of Fizzy company. So, B requirement asks candidates to address the matters which should be considered prior to firm accepting this engagement, provide assurance on the sustainability report of Fizzy. Again, answer to this requirement were broadly disappointing at its root. This was essentially an acceptance requirement, and candidates should have been able to apply existing knowledge from their studies and question practice to produce decent, well applied response. Many candidates did not read the scenario carefully, spent time examining whether the firm Ock and Co. generally had the competence to do the work, even though the scenario clearly stated that the firm had a specialized team. Candidates also wasted time discussing that this work would need to be performed by a team separate to the audit team, which again was clearly stated in the scenario. As a result, candidates wasted time and were unable to score marks for these points. Candidates are again reminded that they must read the scenario carefully and pay attention to the points which are provided by the examining team. Marks, however, were available for specifically considering whether the firm would need to hire experts to support it in carrying out this work due to the detailed nature of the sustainability metrics, plastic, recycling, waste management. Strong candidates demonstrated relevant understanding in this regard. Better answer discuss the risk attached to the engagement due to the intended use, reliance on the report, exploring the risk attached to report, uh, reduce global waste initiative, or by the Green Tree Bank in making a lending decision for the company. The best answers were also able to clearly discuss the increased risk due to the fact that these two outcomes were linked, and therefore there was a significant risk of bias in the information presented by the management. The strongest answer also provided evaluation of the possible ethical threats which were present, including the advocacy threat attached to the report being used by the Green Tree Bank, or the possible intimidation threat by management if they did not receive the outcome they were seeking, therefore not able to maintain their RGW certification. The best answers also demonstrated appropriate professional skills by questioning that the commercial outcome of this issue might be on the company. Okay, last requirement of this question. It is now 10 July and Oak & Co has now accepted the engagement to review the sustainability report, critique the information provided in the sustainability report by management of Fizzy company, commenting the where the assurance team should apply professional skepticism. So it was also poorly answered, and it was disappointing to note that most candidates did not even attempt to conduct basic analysis on the information which was provided. Credit was available for the calculations and trends in this question, and many candidates missed out on this marks. The requirement asks candidate to critique the information provided with a focus on where the assurance team should apply professional skepticism. This wording was designed to highlight the candidates that it was clearly likely that this information was potentially misleading and needed to be challenged. Candidates who carried out simple calculations such as comparing the overall increase in bottles produced to the decrease in level of grants, donations, or use the information to work out the equivalent number of bottles were recycled in 2004. were better placed to spot the unusual movements and anomalies which were present within the information. Some candidates misunderstood the reference to grants and documents in terms of recycling and incorrectly concluded that the company was receiving government grants. It was clearly stated in the information that these were amounts paid by Fiji Soda Company to their subsidized recycling network, and candidates are reminded to try and take a step back and look at the information holistically rather than react to a specific word within the scenario. Some candidates therefore spend time discussing the accounting treatment for government grants in line with the IS 20, which was not relevant to the question. Okay, many candidates also failed to appreciate that the reason there was no information included for the prior year comparative in relation to the number of recycled bottles, and due to the change in metric enhanced by the management in the year, weak answer simply stated that it was impossible for Fiji Soda Company to go from recycling zero bottles to over 400 million bottles in 1 year. Credit was awarded, though, where candidates questioned the accuracy of this information due to the company's reliance on the third party recycling network. Most candidates, however, were able to recognize that reluctance of the client in providing information on recycling rates might be an attempt by management to conceal issues or inconsistencies, and better answers went on to discuss the team should look for the other methods of verifications. As previously mentioned, many answers to this part of the question in particular were very brief, with many candidates providing only a few short sentences or bullet points, and therefore did not provide anywhere near the level of detail needed to pass the requirement. Candidates should ensure that they review the model answer in detail to better understand and gain practice in determining an appropriate approach this type of requirement. Overall, candidates should ensure that they are better prepared to answer questions on this very topical issue in future exam sessions. Okay. Question 3, Bodine. It is 1st July 2005. You are an audit manager in Burton, a firm of chartered certified accountants. Your role includes performing post issuance quality review of completed audits within your firm, and you have been asked to review the audit file for Bodine Company for the year ended 31st January. You are also currently working on the audit of Francisca Company for the year ended 31st March, and you are in the process of reviewing the proposed auditor's report. There were two exhibits: post issuance review of the Bodine Company, post issuance review findings from the audit of Bodine Company, Francisca Company, draft opinion, details regarding a modified opinion proposed for Francisca Company. This 25-mark question was sent at the completion and reporting stage of the audit. For these two clients, Bodine Co and Francisca Co, the question also had a standalone requirement relating to the challenges encountered by the auditors relating to the use of data analytics. Okay, this question presented candidates with the details about issues which had been highlighted by a post issuance review of the audit of Bodine Company. Although candidates were assured that ultimately the audit opinion was appropriate, they were asked to evaluate the issues which were present in the audit and consider the actions which were necessary for Burton and Co. The question was also provided details of issues arising from the audit of Francisca Company, specifically in relation to the impairment reviews which had been conducted by management on the company's intangible assets. Candidates were presented with an extract from the proposed auditor's report and were asked to critically assess the content and appropriateness of the suggested opinion. Professional skill marks were available for analysis and evaluation, professional skepticism, judgment, and commercial acumen. Okay, that means all of those, uh, except for communication. Yeah. So 6 marks. Discuss the challenges associated with the use of data analytics in performing external company audits. Okay, so it was a standalone requirement which was asked candidates to discuss the challenges associated with the use of data analytics in performing the audit work. Answer to this requirement were generally satisfactory. Okay, the majority of answers displayed an understanding of the challenges, ensuring that the client data use is compatible, high enough quality to generate accurate results. Significant number of answers also discuss the challenges involved in training staff to ensure that data analytics can be used appropriately and in providing auditors with the necessary skills to interpret the results. Better answers also went on to discuss the danger of over reliance on these tools and the possible errorism of professional skepticism judgment as a result. Okay, many candidates also demonstrate appropriate levels of commercial acumen by discussing potentially prohibitive costs involved, especially for smaller firms, in implementing a suitable data analytics strategy or the cost benefit analysis, which should be considered by the firm when weighing up the cost against the fee get generated. Some candidates misread the requirement and provide an answer which was centered on the benefits of use of data analytics, which was not asked for and therefore scored no credit. Others provided both benefits and challenges, thereby wasting valuable time providing answers points which could not attain marks. A number of candidates also failed to apply the guidance provided by the examining team to treat this a standalone requirement and tried to write an answer which applied to one of the companies in the question. Credit was awarded where possible, but some candidates did lose on relatively straightforward knowledge mark as a result. Candidates are once again reminded to ensure that they take notice of the guidance which is provided as is there to try guide candidates answer to help them maximize their marks. It was evident in strong answer that those candidates realized that requirement A was a lead into more specific issues which were prevalent at requirement B and therefore helped them identify specific example of these challenges which were presented in the audit of boarding companies such as over reliance and incomplete documentation or evidence. So use the information in Exhibit 1 to boarding company, evaluate the quality management, ethical and professional issues raised by your review of the audit of boarding company and recommend any appropriate actions to be taken by the Burton and Co. Okay, there are some strong answers to requirement B which ask candidates to evaluate the quality management, ethical and professional issues raised by the post issuance which had been conducted on the audit of Bodine company. Many candidates were able to identify the issuance surrounding the over reliance which had been placed on the firm's data analytics software and that the audit team had failed to gather sufficient and appropriate evidence. Better answers were also able to develop answers in relation to the lack of monitoring and supervision which had been provided on the audit and displayed appropriate levels of professional skepticism judgment by questioning the overall direction and supervision which had been provided by the audit engagement partner. Most candidates identified that it would have been appropriate to use the firm's IT experts to review the work which had been performed. Okay, the strongest answers also then commented on the fact that this was a derivation from the planned strategy and that any changes to the audit strategy or plan should have been appropriately documented. It was encouraging to see that many candidates commented on the appropriateness of an engagement quality review EQR being performed due to boarding company being a listed company, and that this is a requirement of ISA 220 quality management for an audit of financial statement. Most candidates recognized that it was inappropriate for many of the EQR comments to have been ignored, and these candidates scored relevant technical and professional marks as a result. Candidates who further scrutinized the impact of the attitude towards outstanding points from an EQR on the firm's overall, quality of management and the wider impact these issues might have on the firms were awarded professional skill marks for demonstrating their commercial acumen. So, some candidates misunderstood the scenario, and though the data analytics software belonged to the client and therefore spent time discussing that the client might be trying to provide you with fictitious information or trying to intimidate the auditor into using client software, the scenario was clear that while the use of data analytics had been discussed with the audit committee, it was the audit firm's data analytics software. Candidates are reminded to read the scenario carefully and to sense check their understanding when planning their answers. Another common mistake was to question the independence of the engagement quality reviewer and suggest that they were familiar with the client or the IT experts. There was nothing in the question to suggest that this was an issue. Some candidates showed a lack of understanding of the role of an engagement quality reviewer by stating that there was a self review risk arising from them reviewing the audit file. The requirement also asks candidates to recommend appropriate actions to be taken by the firm, and this aspect of the requirement was less well handled, and some candidates did not tackle it at all where an answer was provided. Many candidates were able to make sensible suggestions around the need for the staff training. Only the better answers also focus on the implementation of better procedures in relation to the use of firms' IT experts and finalizing the EQR. Okay, the strongest answers were able to identify that there may be issues with other audits which had been carried out using the data analytics tool, and that this should also be investigated as a matter of priority. Unfortunately, some candidates failed to recognize the point in question, which stated that enough additional audit work had been performed to confirm that the audit opinion issued was appropriate, and listed additional audit procedures which should be performed was not appropriate at this pre-issuance stage in the audit. Finally, requirement C, using the information in Exhibit 2 relevant to Friskia Company, critically appraise the extract from the auditor's report, including an assessment as to whether the proposed audit opinion is appropriate. 6 marks available. Answer to this style of the requirement continued to be disappointing. Okay. Although there was improvement over attempts to similar questions in previous sessions, candidates were provided with details from the audit of Friskia Company as well as extract from the proposed auditor report. Candidates were able to critically appraise the extract, including assessing whether the audit opinion was appropriate in the circumstances described. Many candidates struggled to identify the issues which were present with the extract and therefore focus on what they perceive to be missing from the report, such as the key audit matters section or the management or other responsibility section. Okay, modify the opinion should be better. suited as a cam or emphasizes of matter. However, candidates are reminded that these questions are written to elicit a critical assessment of what is being proposed. There is not a deliberate attempt to misstate it, and therefore candidates are encouraged to focus on what is included in the extract provided rather than assuming there are significant omissions. Candidates are encouraged to use the example reports which are included in the IAASB reporting standards to ensure that they have appropriate knowledge and understanding of the form and content of the auditor's report. Significant number of candidates appropriately concluded that the headings of the paragraphs need to be amended to qualified opinion basis for qualified opinion, but only stronger answers were able to conclude that the suggestion that this was because of an inability to collect sufficient and appropriate evidence was also incorrect. Weaker answers suggested that the auditor should be including circumstances under which such an opinion is relevant. Disappointingly, despite a specific request in the requirement to consider the appropriateness of the opinion, many candidates did not provide this assessment at all. Candidates must ensure that they attempt all aspects of the requirement in order to maximize the marks they can achieve. Many candidates were able to comment on the unprofessional wording which had been included in relation to the management, but only high scoring answers also recognized that wording used in the opinion paragraph was imprecise and unclear, offering no definitive opinion. The best answers also recognize the use of the word proof anywhere in the auditor's report is misleading and suggests the auditor giving a much higher level of assurance than is possible. The strongest answers also demonstrate a clear understanding of what the auditor would have to do in circumstances. Discussing this was a judgmental misstatement due to the issue relating to the forward looking information. The auditor would have to present robust evidence on which to conclude the modification was unnecessary. Candidates should also ensure that they review the model answer to understand the level of depth and analysis which is needed to score the technical and professional skill marks in relation to the auditor's reporting. So far so good. So this is the September and December 24 advanced audit assurance examiner report. I hope if you attempt this paper, you may have recognized some or more of your mistakes, or you would have in generally, if you are the first timer, you have generally understand that what mistakes can cause you triple exam. If you have any questions from your side to ask me, if you want to ask any question for me, you can contact me on my WhatsApp, which is this, right? That is +92 for outside Pakistan, and for Pakistanis 0302177706. Did you like my session on advanced audit assurance examiner's report? You can comment and also share this video to help others. That's it for now. Take care. Bye bye.